Okay, we'll reconvene the regular meeting after the closed session, and there's nothing to report. Next item, Karen.
Item number 2 are the fiscal year 2017-18 general fund and PEG fee fund proposed budgets.
Okay, good afternoon. Bob Davison, your executive director.
Bob?
Yes.
There's an echoing with the sound system. It's a little bit hard to understand.
Okay.
It's a reverb. You're dating yourself.
You knew
I know my children constantly tell me how loud my voice is. Is that still echoing?
It's still, you can understand you, but it still has an echo to it. And I don't know if it's affecting the broadcast as well.
Maybe I can try this mic. Is that one better?
Yeah.
That one sounds better.
Okay.
Karen's is muffled too.
Is it?
Maybe we should add, since this is a budget discussion, we could get some more microphones in the budget.
I wonder. Sure it's not operator problem?
The only thing is I do have a PowerPoint presentation, and so I'm just trying to adjust it so I can see the PowerPoint presentation. But I think I can move over here and successfully handle the budget.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll just start into it. If I'm fumbling around between here, my screen, and that screen, just you'll know why. Okay, I think I said my name was Bob Davison, and I'm the executive director. And this item is the fiscal year 2017-2018 proposed budgets for the Cable Commission's 2 budgets, 94A, which is the general fund budget, and 94B, which is the, and I'll say it once, public education government channel facilities fee, and we affectionately call that the PEG fee, and so for the rest of the presentation I'll be saying PEG a lot. And with that, so first I'm going to go over the general fund budget, and then I'm going to go over the PEG fee budget. All actions will be one action at the end. Please feel free to ask questions during the presentation, and then of course at the end as well, however you would like. So the first slide is a representation of the proposed general fund budget. And it looks a little bit different this year. I think we informed the board that we had to actually delay our budget meeting, which should have been in the beginning of June. And here we are, July 19th, at a special meeting. And unfortunately, we had some staff with some family issues that had to be dealt with, and so we were unable to bring the budget at that time. But the board at that time did take action to extend our spending authority so that there weren't going to be any serious ramifications. And now we are here on July 19th with our proposed budget. And because of those circumstances, the proposed budget is a lot higher than it usually is. The total budget is $26.9 million. Usually our budget is about half that. There's a simple answer for that. If you look at the blue on the circle, that's the revenue distribution, and that's by far the largest part of the budget. Typically, we do a revenue distribution in June of the prior fiscal year, but because of the circumstances, that revenue distribution hasn't happened yet. All that revenue distribution that goes to the member agencies carried over in fund balance, and so now we have 2 revenue distributions proposed for the fiscal year, as opposed to one. One will occur in July, shortly after this meeting, and then the next revenue distribution, as the normal course of action, will be next June, assuming that we have our budget meeting scheduled early in June. Then we will make the revenue distribution from the revenue received during this fiscal year at the end of the fiscal year. So with that, the 26.9 proposed budget is funded mostly from franchise fee revenue, and that's $14 million that's proposed for next year, and also $2.9 million in carryover. And the reason the $12.9 million in carryover funding, and I just explained to you the reason why the carryover funding is so large. So with that, I'll just quickly go over these components. The actual revenue distribution for fiscal year 2016 and 17 is $12.3 million, and the estimated fiscal year 17-18 revenue distribution is $11.2 million. It's a little bit less, and for reasons I'll be explaining later on in the presentation. Also included in the budget is adding $150,000 more to the reserves, salaries and benefits of just under $1 million, services and supplies just under $1 million, and $1.23 million of operations base that goes to the channel licensees that program the 6 other PEG channels that the commission owns. Oops. Okay. So component number 1 of the budget is administration and regulation. This is basically the admin side of the house that works with the cable companies and processes the cable complaints, and the side of the house that doesn't film the meetings and produce them and cablecast them. So this staff administers the franchises, which everybody knows now are state franchises, assist in resolving cable complaints, find support in operations for the 6 PEG channels and local cable system. We collect and distribute the franchise fees, just like we talked about, and we collect the PEG fee revenue to fund PEG projects, and actually the process of taking in the grant request from the channel licensees, from the member agencies, and from Metro Cable is a large process that has happened over the past 3 months. Karen and her staff do a great job of managing that process, making sure it's communicated with everybody so nobody's left out. If somebody finds out that this meeting went on and they could have asked for control room upgrades. I think all of the cities, all of the channel licensees, everybody is well communicated, and the staff does a great job in that. So with the funding in the budget for the year, it's to pay for the staffing of the administrative component. This includes me as the part-time executive director, but note that I'm not a salaried employee with the Cable Commission, and so that part of the budget is actually a payment that goes to the County of Sacramento. But we do have 4 authorized full-time positions, an ASO 3, an ASO 1 that's currently unfilled. It's a priority for me to fill that position this year. I know that's been on the books for a while, but we do need to fill that position. And we have a confidential senior office assistant and a senior office assistant. That small staff does a great job in a lot of the work that I've discussed, and I'm hoping that will continue, certainly. Also recommended is a 2% cost of living adjustment. Commission policy is that Cable Commission positions are tied to County of Sacramento positions, and the general cost of living adjustment that's being offered to County of Sacramento positions this year is 2%. So, some of the budget highlights. Sorry about that. Accounting services are services we pay to the County of Sacramento that because our money's with them, and the accounting that has to happen occurs to the County of Sacramento. Legal counsel, $200,000. I think it's about the same that we authorized last year, and it's to pay for our legal counsel help, as well as potential litigation and other assistance from legal counsel. Other professional services, I mentioned that we pay the County of Sacramento for my hours, and that's part of that, as well as the audits that we fund. There's also a classification and compensation study that's being conducted right now. Your board might remember we discussed this a couple of years ago. We actually started that process. It got aborted. Well, it got aborted for various reasons, but we are re-engaging that, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that later in the staff status section of today's meeting. County DTEC services, all the computers, telephones, IT services, that we rely on the County of Sacramento to provide, that we have to pay for it, and that's our allocated cost for that. We're recommending $150,000 be added to reserves, which is consistent with the reserve policy that the Commission adopted within the last few years. And right now, our target is to increase the reserves to $1.5 million. This would increase the reserves to just over $1 million, and so we're, moving towards that target. We participate in the CalPERS CERBT program, which is an OPED other than post-employment benefits trust, so that we can, and this is consistent with Commission action over the past several years, to fund this trust so that we can partially offset those types of benefits that otherwise would just have to be paid later without any revenue. That revenue would have to be figured out later. So we are participating in this trust. We are contributing every year, and then this $80,000 would be added to that trust. Also, I should point out that there is a Comcast litigation settlement that previously just occurred, and with that, it was that a judgment, not a settlement? So excuse me, that was a judgment, not a settlement, and so also in the budget is to pay $160,000 to Comcast based upon that judgment. Closed captioning is a big part of our meetings. Certainly the screens out there show the captions, and at home everybody can turn on the captioning. We do live captioning with a firm called, it used to be called Caption Colorado, but they're called VTech now. In calendar year 2016, we closed captioned 322 meetings. Over 618 were captioned through that process. And for the next year's budget, we're proposing $110,000 in the budget to continue that captioning. And then, like I just mentioned, we're also recommending extending the contract with VITAC for the captioning services, and that would go till June of 2018. I think your board is very familiar with Metro Cable staff. They're responsible certainly for cable casting, filming, broadcasting, whatever you call it, this meeting, but they perform gavel-to-gavel coverage for all the council and board meetings of the member agencies, as well as many other, at least 13 other agencies. I mentioned the captioning. We caption close to 90% of our meetings. There's only a few meetings due to technical issues that we don't caption some meetings. But with that, Metro Cable was responsible for cable casting 365 meetings for a total of 700 hours. And also, they cable casted 3 election forums, 2 in this board chambers, and 1 in the city of Citrus Heights in 2016. Kristen Riggs and her staff, they just do a great job with this, and they're there for all the member agencies to perform these services. And by the way, the PEG process that we mentioned, Kristen and her staff also advise the member agencies on PEG equipment needs and such, so there's an ongoing dialogue between Metro Cable, Cable Commission, other Cable Commission staff, and the member agencies in regards to equipment needs, and then some of the grant requests that you'll see in just a few minutes here. Metro Cable staff includes 4 authorized full-time positions: production director, production coordinator, technical coordinator, and a technical assistant. And we have many part-time production assistants, at least 10 or so, that provide the filming services and other services at most of these meetings. Consistent with the other staff, the same 2% cost of living adjustment is being recommended to Metro Cable staff as well. The next component of the budget I want to talk about is community programming. The Cable Commission provides channels to we have 7 PEG channels. One's Metro Cable 14. The other 6 are programmed by other entities. We call them channel licensees. We provide funding to all of them except for Sac Faith TV because of religious state issues. We don't provide funding to Sac Faith TV, but the remainder we do provide funding support, and that's part of today's budget. Per previous commission policy, we are recommending the same adjustment to the operations base that's approved for these channel licensees as the general COLA that's being applied to commission staff, and so we're recommending a 2% increase in this operations base. We also are recommending a one-time equipment grant in the general fund of $8,000 plus to Capital Public Radio. And there's some legal reasons why we would rather fund that small amount in the general fund budget and not in the PEG fund budget. This shows the channel licensees' recommended operations base compared to last year. I won't go into it in detail, but you can see this slide shows all the base and also the components, because like with Access Sacramento, there's a specific hometown TV and game of the week operations base, and with SECC, there's also a BestNet operations base. And with that, we're showing that the proposed operations base to the channel licensees is $1.23 million, which is 2% more than the amount shown from last year. So that brings us to component 5, which is the revenue distribution. So I mentioned earlier that the revenue distribution was $12.38 or so million. And this is actually an increase over the $350,000 amount that was, actually it's an increase of $350,000 over the amount budgeted. You might think that's a bit odd, because I know that we alerted this board as well as many of the member agencies that we are experiencing at least declining revenue from one of the state franchises, AT&T. AT&T, as we have mentioned before, is abandoning their UVerse cable platform, which provides franchise fees, and they're moving towards a DirecTV over-the-top internet platform that unfortunately doesn't have franchise fees. With that, we saw a significant decline in the revenue from AT&T, and that likely could continue. So with that, actual franchise fee revenue was $70,000 less than budgeted. And just so you know, Comcast franchise fees actually increased by 6%. Consolidated Communications franchise fees increased by 1.2%, but AT&T's revenue dropped by about 25%. So with that, we had an overall $70,000 reduction in franchise fees. However, because of certain audit findings and audit reports that were prepared for AT&T, one of those audits is on today's agenda. And the other audit with AT&T was a previous audit that led to litigation that was ultimately settled, and we received a $300,000 payment from AT&T as a settlement for that audit. But with that, the revenue distribution includes $420,000 in unpaid fees from AT&T that we were successfully able to recover. So with that, instead of having a $70,000 hole to deal with in the budget, we have $420,000 of extra revenue. And as is typically the policy, when we receive franchise fees in excess with the amount budgeted, we usually take that delta and we disseminate that to the member agencies in June of every year, and this year in July. So with that, that explains the 2016-17 revenue distribution. Now the fiscal year 2017-18 proposed distribution is $11.2 million, and that's a little bit reduction compared to the $12 million budgeted in 16-17, and that's mainly due to our assumptions of revenue, which are mitigated from where we have seen them in the past. I think that we are assuming, well, actually I have a slide later that shows the overall revenue, so we'll wait till I get to that slide. But that reduced revenue distribution is based upon little bit of lesser expectations on franchise fees than maybe we have traditionally seen in the past, which up till this point in time with the AT&T issue, they've just been on a steady increase over the years. And this slide just shows the revenue, the two revenue distributions and the amounts that would go to each member agency. So here's the slide that shows the revenue. So you can see just what I said, that since fiscal year 2007-8, when we received $9.87 million, we've had a steady increase in franchise fees to a high of last year of $14.33 million, and then this year's is that $70,000 reduction brings it to $14.26 million, and we're proposing an estimation of $14 million in revenue for the 17-18 fiscal year. And that's just the actual representation of the franchise fee revenue received each year. So with that, that's the general fund budget that's before you today. I just have a few more slides to talk about the PEG fee fund budget. The PEG fee fund proposes expenditures of $4.16 million, and it's mainly funded by the $2 million plus in PEG fees that are received each year, and then carryover funds from the year before. Not all the projects got completed or got completed on time, and there's some best net money that rolls over, so there's a pretty significant carryover from the year before. So with that, it's proposed that you can see that there's some of the base got split up. Some of the channel licensees have their base in equipment money, and so that's what the $153,000 is in channel licensee equipment base. There's $1.34 million in channel licensee one-time equipment request. I am not going to be going into these requests individually. The channel licensees are here. We've left at the dais an explanation of what all the grant requests are. So just without pointing out every single one of them, it would get a little redundant. This information is here for your board, and I know that channel licensees are in the audience and will be able to answer questions. A few highlights. Access Sacramento is requesting the Coloma Studio lighting project, and there's upgrades to their HD truck that this commission supported over the past years, and have already put to great use, filming Game of the Week and hometown TV events and other events. KVIE is one of their significant requests is a foundation leveling project that's going to affect their studio floor. So it's the foundation studio floor leveling project. And with Sacramento Education Cable Consortium, they're asking for $120,000 to leverage with school district money to provide more SIVA labs. I was recently able to, actually I attended the SIVA Awards this year, was impressed there, and myself and Kristen Riggs and Bill Piper and Kevin Benyon from Metro Cable staff toured the SIVA lab at Del Campo High School, and it was absolutely amazing. If any of you board members would like to tour a SIVA lab, that can definitely be arranged, and I suggest that you do it. It's just amazing to see what this money has done in schools, and the ability for these children to be able to provide the quality of news and reports and such, other type of items that they produce and show at their school and on SCCC is just absolutely amazing. So anyway, they're asking for $120,000, but they do leverage that with school district money, so that will fund many labs. And also with SCCC is $600,000 for the completion of BestNet. As I've reported to this board in the past, in order to complete BestNet, it really requires agreement between Comcast, the Sacramento Education Cable Consortium and the Cable Commission. Last year at this time, we reported that we were working on such agreement. Well, we still have not achieved such an agreement. So, but with that, we still think it's prudent to allocate funding as was addressed at last year's board meeting. And so the money that was budgeted last year has rolled over, and we are recommending $600,000 more be allocated to the completion of BestNet.
Mr. Natoli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, as I know it's a budget discussion today, but I think the point you just covered is an important one. I guess I would ask that maybe for our September meeting, if that's when we meet next, but that we maybe have a broader discussion here, certainly a staff presentation, and invite SEC and others who want to participate. But I think to have a discussion about obviously the continued build out, but any other related issues to that, I think would be helpful for this commission, and certainly for hopefully for staff to put that together, bring it to us, and allow for that broader discussion.
I think if we have that item, it'd be also worthwhile to have a formal invitation to Comcast to be here to address this as well.
Okay, good. Sounds good. Thanks.
We will certainly take that direction and bring such item to the September meeting.
Does everybody on the board support that?
Yep.
By the nods, yes, I take that, and we'll move forward.
Okay. So that's the channel licensee request, and if I've missed an important request, I'm sure they will address that in their comments. Metro Cable's PEG equipment request is for $62,000. It's mostly equipment that's back in this control room, and maybe in other areas as well, and sometimes in the van as well. We're proposing contingency of $150,000. Member agency PEG projects, which is mostly control room upgrades and council chambers, board chamber upgrades, is proposed for the budget as well. And then we already talked about the BestNet, which actually had its own pie slice that I didn't realize when I was talking about BestNet earlier. So with that, I think that essentially explains the proposed PEG fee budget. Again, thanks to Karen and her staff, as well as Metro Cable staff, for helping the member agencies figure these things out. And with that, I believe that ends my presentation on the general fund and on the PEG fee budget. And I can certainly answer any questions that you might have.
Totally.
Just a question on the PEG fee, then the exhibit that you put out or replaced us today, is that reflected in the budget, or are these over and above, or is there a portion thereof recommended? So can you make that clear?
No, everything that's in the exhibit on the dais is part of the budget.
That's all recommended. This is all recommended.
Right.
It's built into this $4.1 million in.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other questions for Bob? Okay. So if we have no other questions, we can ask for a motion to approve the fiscal year. Oh, we got public comment, I'm sorry. So Doug Neva is our first speaker. Followed by Gary Martin.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Neva. I'm the production director for SECC. And unfortunately, Liz Rhodes isn't able to be here this afternoon, but on behalf of her and our board, we'd like to thank the commission for your ongoing support for all these years. So, thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Gary Martin.
Hello. I have a handout.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here.
And of course, I gave away. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Gary Martin, Executive Director at Access Sacramento. And we likewise would like to thank the Cable Commission very much for ongoing support, both on the operations side and on the PEG fee side. We do have a high-definition truck that you've supported, and this year we are putting the last of the cameras that we need onto that truck based on the approval that is likely based on the staff recommendation. It'll be nice to have the handheld camera from the sidelines of a football game, now in high definition instead of standard definition, the last camera to go onto that truck. Several other major improvements in our studio, a new green wall and some lighting improvements, and we're very grateful that there's money to do those PEG operations.
Do you get the leak fixed in the truck?
Yes, the truck is fully operational, and I think the roof is sealed properly, so no more water coming in, which was a surprise this last winter. Yeah, no, we're delighted with the way it's operating now, absolutely. So thank you for asking. The proposal that I need to talk with you about, though, is something that I've talked with you about before. We thank the staff and the board policy for being able to provide a 2% COLA against our operational funding, and thank you very much for that. The handout that you have toward the bottom shows that for us, that 2% COLA amounts to about $11,000. Our problem is that this coming January, there will be a minimum wage increase that will take the minimum wage from $10.50 to $11. For us, that essentially will eat up all of the COLA that is available being offered by the staff. So in the past, the board has considered thoughtfully and been able to make an adjustment on the minimum wage to support us. We are unfortunately very tight on our operations dollars. We receive just under $600,000 from the Cable Commission and raise about $100,000 to $110,000 every year. So in order to close our budget gap, we're raising about $1 against $6 that the Commission provides to operate the channels. Unfortunately, when you're raising that little amount of money, $100,000 to $110,000, when you see an increase of $10,000 against your minimum wage, that is a huge expense. When I spoke with the board before the June initial meeting that was going to be a budget meeting, I talked with many of you at that time about this minimum wage increase. Based on previous board process, rather than funding Access Sacramento directly against the unrestricted dollars, the Commission has adjusted the COLA amount. And for your thoughtful consideration, I show that in order to move from 2% to cover the minimum wage increase that Access Sacramento will find, it would mean a move of that unrestricted dollar amount to a 3.7%. That would raise the extra $9,800 that would be necessary. The unfortunate part of the money that we have to raise this coming year potentially is the new ask that most of you have never seen or heard, and that's this discussion of the property insurance for PEG. In June, we received new information from the property insurance provider for our company, and what they said was, well, good news is also bad news, according to them. Based on all of that new equipment, the new $700,000 truck and $600,000 in master control, networking, and other upgrades in our facility, that our property insurance is going to go up an additional $12,000. So you're offering 2%. We raise 110. Now we'll have to raise 122 just to cover our property insurance, which for us is a huge, huge number. It means our unrestricted dollars, our own earned income, has to go up more than 10% this year just to cover our property insurance. So, while I recognize that we, and with our new board, are taking on new efforts to do fundraising. We're doing a new awards dinner, gala style, with a higher price to try and do some revenue raising. The board is creating some underwriting packages and doing some things to try and improve our earned revenue against the budget deficit that we're looking at. It would be very nice and certainly prudent for me to ask if you were to also pay for the property insurance. It means that we can calm just a little bit about what we perceive to be a very heavy hit against the earned revenue that we would have to raise in the next year. And as a fiscal agent essentially for you in operating our channels, it would be nice that, since this is kind of PEG related, the good news, you gave us equipment, now we have to insure it. It would be nice if there was a way for you to fund the insurance. But I also recognize that you're looking at deficits, not deficits, but you're looking at a small income reduction this year. We're really tight on money as well. So the ask is, if you would, find a way to also fund this other amount, and in order to raise that amount as well, if you were to follow past practice, that it would be a 5.9% increase, that would raise our funding in the next year by $34,331. That's the ask.
Gary, how long have you been at the helm now?
I have just started my 5th year.
And since you took over, what is the ratio that you've raised compared to the commission funding?
I can't give you an exact number, but I can give you my impression of what has happened over my 4 years previously. And that is that our funding has remained remarkably stable in terms of our own capacity to raise dollars. So the earned revenue has been relatively consistent. In a couple of years ago, when we attempted to bolster the amount that we were going to raise, we were not successful in doing that. Unlike other agencies, perhaps, that maybe have strong donor bases or get money from educational school districts, Access Sacramento's earned revenue is based primarily on its membership. And as a public access, free speech, and democracy approach, our membership fee has really remained very, very stable, essentially throughout this duration. We have charged just $30 for a person to get their voice on our channels on an annual basis. The staff and I guess the membership itself feels that they deserve a lot of services based on that membership because it's a part of the free speech forum. But based on that membership rate, we have increased fees for our classes, a very small amount, in order to cover those fees. We've instituted a radio fee in order to cover some of the costs associated with operating the radio station. KUBU, the only station where you can be you on the radio, has some costs associated with it. And so the members pay a radio fee in order to cover that amount. So we've done some of those types of things. But it's unfortunate. It's not like we're going to go on the air typically, unlike our friends in public broadcasting, and say, if you like this program, give today, and have people generate dollars. Community media is slightly different in that way.
I'm trying to recall, aren't you also precluded from having advertising?
Correct. All of the PEG channels are prohibited from doing any advertising. The board has built, and we're about to release a brand new underwriting package, especially in light of the fact that this is the start of our 20th year for Game of the Week. So we believe there's some opportunities there to generate some additional dollars for Game of the Week. But correct, other than underwriting dollars that follow the PBS model, this program paid for in part by the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission and these others, we're not allowed to do advertising at all.
Because, I don't know what other restrictions you have, but I know that there's a lot of other nonprofits and things like that that have restrictions as well, but they're able to reach out and do a variety of type of fundraisers to generate, sometimes $25,000 at a pop.
Right, and we are proposing our first gala-style awards dinner actually at the end of August. We're hopeful of raising money along those lines, but it is also our first foray into that option. I will tell you that while it is very appropriate to find as much fundraising as you possibly can, in the world of doing fundraising for such things as free speech and democracy, it's much easier for people to envision how they're helping puppies when they give to Front Street Shelter, or they're helping homeless people when they are donating to food closets and those types of things. So it is a competitive world for nonprofit fundraising, and Access Sacramento's ask in funding a community media center, is tougher. There are a lot of places that simply do not fund television.
Have you tried a actual commercial fundraiser?
Yes, we did. 3 years ago, if you recall, we hired a company to do a program called Sacramento Has Talent. We did essentially a televised event, very much like America's Got Talent. It was a fundraiser approach where there were sponsors, and we created a show, and it was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you that it was more of a friend raiser than it was a fundraiser. Great community spirit. We tried it for 3 years, but for as valuable as that was, it did not end up being a fundraiser. And so for us to continue that was not a cost-effective choice.
Okay. Mr. Natoli?
Yeah, I have a quick question for Bob, and Gary, you can respond as well. But so I get it on the minimum wage, and I get that that's a pressure on your budget, but I want to ask about the insurance piece of it. So we fund a lot of equipment, and we do have base budgets, and then the addition too. Would that be an appropriate adjustment if this commission so chose to, again, I don't know who does your brokering, how good a deal, and how much the city charges you for Coloma Community Center, and what insurance requirements they put forth, and so forth and so on. I don't want to get into all that detail. We don't have the time here today, but I guess I would ask that, Bob, is if we were looking to, because otherwise, Gary, and again, based upon what this board has done previously on this COLA, but that over time gets to be potentially a slippery slope. So I guess I would much rather have us take a look at base budget for insurance, which costs are going up in a lot of different, and they do for others as well. But recognize, obviously, the unique niche that Access Sacramento plays in all of this. I guess I'd like to have you respond quickly to that, and certainly Gary can add anything if he wants to, but I'm trying to get some sense about that.
And honestly, that was one of the questions that we raised when the HT truck was first proposed, is, how was it going to affect the insurance rates? And we had some dialogue on that when it was proposed. In regards to, and I may not have exactly heard your question, but are you asking, is it appropriate to be?
Yeah, to adjust the base for the insurance cost. We've helped fund a lot of the equipment. They've raised some private monies and may have some other donations. But is that, again, you have a much more sophisticated equipment collage, and so based upon that, obviously, there's insurance, and I guess if it's jumped to $12,000 in a year, that's an annual premium. That's pretty hefty. But I guess there's probably a couple $1 million worth of equipment, I guess, in the overall, and or more. So yeah, so I guess my question is that appropriate for the base budget if we chose to adjust the base budget so that at least it factored in some of the insurance costs, recognizing that we've come forward and help fund that, the equipment purchases themselves, which again gets better quality programming and so forth and so on.
Yeah, if your board was inclined to fund the insurance cost, I think it would be appropriate to fund it with the operations base. Harriet can answer whether it would be a legal PEG fee expense, even though it's insurance related to equipment. That is a question.
No, you couldn't use PEG fees to pay for the insurance. You can only use PEG fees to pay for the capital expenditures. So once you buy it, then the operational costs, whatever they are, has to come out of your operations budget.
So the request is before us. It's been characterized as a COLA.
So you could change the base for each one of your channel licensees was established by this commission.
Okay,
and you can change that whenever you want. You can, in the past, you've added a COLA.
Right.
You tied it to the county's employment COLA. You've also done individual funding of certain items like Game of the Week, or one-time funding. But there's nothing that stops this board, aside, to change any one of the licensees' base, if that's your desire.
And it wouldn't necessarily be insurance, but it would just be that's, I guess, was my point. And not to be obscure about it, but if you adjusted the base, then it would go to their operation on whether it was minimum wage or to other aspects of the the ongoing electrical costs or and or insurance. The base allows them to operate, gives them the ability to employ folks and to cover other costs, and that is legitimate use of PEG.
I think the idea was that the base would be their operating funds, and that they would then fund what they needed to fund through their operating funds. And so it's up to the board. We haven't asked them particularly for an accounting of how they spend their base.
Well, and again, that was kind of in my next question. Again, I certainly have great faith in, Gary's ability to lead the organization and the work that he does. But I think that, again, because there may be others that would want us to look at, when we had this in the past, discuss the base, but rather than just keep doing it as COLA every year, which we've done in a couple of years now, and I know we've had previous conversation with some of the commissioners here and others that haven't been present for that conversation. I guess I'd like to have us take a look at that. I don't know how many years it's been since we either did the base, but to take a look at that and maybe to do, and this is not an audit, but to take a look at that, because if there are cost centers that really are impacting the ability, recognizing you can do a lot of one-time funding for equipment buys, but you got to have the ability to cover that, and that's certainly a responsibility falls the organization. If they take the goodies, then they got to find a way to cover it. And the appeal here is that those, all that addition, we're doing good work, but we need to, our base operations we're struggling a bit, and that's not the challenge that you with getting to raise more of that money, but. So I don't know, for today's purposes, I know it's almost 4 o'clock here, and I know probably someone's got to leave pretty shortly. Maybe, again, this is a budget approval. We would have some ability, I guess, to visit this. I don't know that it's teed up for today's conversation. Maybe, to your point, Harry, maybe take a look, talk with Gary, maybe the others as well, and, to have us come back with an item a little later in the fall that might allow us to make some adjustment based upon costs that folks are seeing within the context of their, provision, and whether it's, Access or SEC or any of the others. So
maybe there's a formula that can be put together that you look at the items within that formula to come up with what that base ends up being. And so if there's something new, additional, come back before us. Like this is the first time I recall the insurance item ever coming before us from any of the anybody requesting that. So maybe that's an item we have to add to that formula.
Yeah. I think we can report back to your board, maybe not at the September meeting, but maybe the next meeting after. We can have some discussions with the channel licensees. I know we looked at this once before. And I'll have to pull up that report to kind of review what we discussed. And I know where we ended up was where we started, that we were going to recommend the same COLA that was offered to the staff, to the channel licensees. And then Supervisor Natoli is right. We've had this discussion every year, and we've, in this public forum, have made adjustments. So I think we can take a look at that again.
I think one of the items that's a little bit different is the minimum wage issue. Was, several years ago, that wasn't part of the equation. So that's now a new chapter that we're going into that we have to have as part of that formula if we're going to look at that. And obviously the minimum wage is, these are the type of positions, if they were all $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year positions, we wouldn't even be talking about that. But
that number to go from $10.50 to $11 is a 6.9% COLA.
Okay, do you have enough information for the future?
Yeah.
To bring that item back. I mean, obviously, I think it's geared more towards next year's budget, but we need to be more proactive instead of reactive on it.
Mr. Chair, if I could, though, but to your point a moment ago, Bob, so I see this on his list, and I guess, is that for our due consideration today relative to the COLA? That was across the board. Basically, that's what we did tie it to going back to a couple of years ago. You haven't built that into this, to your budget recommendation, but that is for our consideration?
In my budget recommendation is a 2% across the board increase.
It is built in, so
to the operations base.
Okay, they are going to get that. Okay.
The 2%, but not the minimum wage or.
No, right. Insurance. Okay, so you're getting $11,000. Okay,
correct.
So I didn't know if that was up for question, that we had to actually act separately on that. So that already is built into the recommendation, and if we approve the staff recommendation, you're going to get that along with the other licensees as well. So whatever that is, so they're 2%.
So I wonder, with the $11,000, if that somewhat offsets the minimum wage increase. So in other words, that could counterbalance that, and maybe such a increase in COLA doesn't need to be as high as the 5.9%.
If I may respond?
Through the chair, I get, yeah.
The $11,000 that's coming in as a 2% is a overall operationals funding budget, which for us includes staff and includes all of our other expenses. The 2% that I believe that is targeted here is the employment 2%. And we've had this conversation before. The 2% that goes into a county employee's pocket is supported by all of the taxes that are on the back side of that, generally 39 cents on the dollar. Our employees, based on this 2%, will receive a 1% because we will pay for the taxes out of this 2% as well. So when we look at this number, essentially all of a 1% increase goes very close to taking this $11,000 because there's taxes that go with that. The workers' comp and all the other pieces, Social Security. So we have to fund that as well. And in the past, the board has responded to that as well. I'm not making that ask this year. Essentially got direction that what you offered as a COLA was going to be the COLA. And so our staff will receive 1%, the county employees will receive 2%.
So, but again, that's maybe something we have to look at modifying the formula to mirror what the county's doing. If it's 2% plus benefits, maybe we have to look at that as the adjustment when we going forward. But obviously, we can have further discussion on the special request and see where we go from there. Any other questions for Gary?
Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Gary.
I don't have any other speakers signed up. Is there any other discussion from the board? Okay. So is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2017-18 general fund and PEG fund proposed budgets to include the resolutions, exhibits, amendments, including in the budget staff report and any other comments relative to the speakers?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the staff recommendation, but I think with the addition that I think based upon the conversation when we've had, again, and we've had some turnover commissioners here, I think it's one that comes back year after year, and maybe it's not easily resolved. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't come back year after year. I appreciate that Mr. Martin and certainly his predecessor have asked for something along these lines. But I think to the points you made, and again, if anybody else wants to weigh in, but I think it's worthy of a conversation once again, and to look at some of those pressures that come in for organizations that really are on the margin but do good work. And I mean, that's obviously, I've said this before, but the role of the commission, I think the whole thing behind it is that we have dollars that come out of the franchise fees that feed our the umbrella organizations, the counties and the cities, but also that we have sufficient programming to meet some of the obligations that came under the franchise and things that we have that our customers expect. And I think that dollars to support that, and I think we do that. This budget obviously does a lot of that with equipment and so forth, and including the public chambers and in the back of the house for those. But again, I recognize that Access has a fairly modest budget. It hasn't grown a lot over the years, and we have other community programmers as well that I think it's worth looking at least some of the cost pressures there. And again, it's still a decision we obviously make because what is spent doesn't then come back to the the franchise holders, this commission and its member entities. But so I would again make it part of my motion that we would. I don't know, Bob, would you see that this could come back to us before the end of the year? So I guess our fall meeting was.
I would say before the end of the year, give us the option to spend a little more time on it than coming back in September. Okay. Maybe we can target the December meeting.
Okay, that's fine. And we can make mid-year adjustments if we choose to. Again, we'll have a better handle on the revenues, and I think obviously the pressures will be there to raise the money and or find a way to budget for it, so it doesn't help out for the immediate for Access or anybody else. But I think it's worthy of discussion, and I guess I would include in my motion and that you bring that back. Is it November meeting or December meeting? What would it be? Is it typically we meet December or November?
We are having the final budget meeting in September, so if you wanted to make an adjustment at final budget, then we would need to bring such item back.
Oh, no, I was going to give you a little more time. I mean,
yeah, and then that's why I was suggesting December, so I just wanted to point out the final budget issue.
Come back and give you some time to work on it, come back in December, and it doesn't help anybody in the final budget, but I think it would allow us to make some adjustments. Again, the issue is still going to be the same. Maybe more imperative for some of the organizations, but so I'd make that motion.
So with your motion, do you have anything relative to the request from Access?
Well, the COLA's in there.
Right.
The 2%.
And I think the points you made relative to minimum wage, how it's calculated, but also then I think to costs associated with insuring or anything else, and again, maybe other issues out there we're not aware of, I think bring all those back as a package for the licensees. So I'm supporting the staff recommendation at this point in time, my motion.
Okay.
It wouldn't include anything further until we come back and have a discussion, so.
Any other discussion or a second on the motion?
I'll second.
A motion accepted and a second. Please vote on your screen.
Motion passes.
Looks like it passes unanimously. Congratulations. And Gary, we'll just have to look at the possibility of a mid-year adjustment if we choose that in the future. Next item, please.
Agenda item number 3 is resolution number 2017-008, approving the 7th Amendment to the License and Operations Agreements pertaining to the use of the channels.
Yeah, you're right.
Good afternoon, Bob Davison again. Consistent with the action taken on the budget item, this would approve the agreements to the channel licenses and operation agreements pertaining to the use of community programming channels, and this will be the 7th Amendment. And I therefore recommend that the board adopt the resolution approving the 7th Amendment to the agreements.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that? Do I have a motion? A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
Item number 4 is the audited financial statements and other reports for fiscal years ended June 30th, 2014 and June 30th, 2015 for the Cable Commission.
Good afternoon again. This is the biannual audit, auditing the Cable Commission for 2 years, the years ending June 30th, 14 and June 30th of 15. I'm happy to report it's a relatively clean audit. There are some findings, and I'll quickly go through those findings, but, in my opinion, no significant findings that we have to deal with. They made a finding that we need to review pension information related to CalPERS, and the staff agrees that we can do that and implement that. Segregation of duties is actually an issue that has come up on previous commission audits. It really translates to the small staff that the Cable Commission has. By approving the ASO one position previously and moving forward to hiring that position, I think that will help out this issue of segregation of duties when you have such a small staff. But one of the particular recommendations they made is that the monthly payroll registers be reviewed and initialed by me, and that wasn't happening in the past, and so we've already implemented their recommendation on that item. The fixed asset listing, there's audit time, there always seems to be a reconciliation of fixed assets, and we sat down and met with the auditor to review the list and the book values, and we trued up the items that need to be trued up, and so that item has been dealt with as well. The auditor also recommended a risk assessment process, that we develop a risk assessment process to identify a risk within the commission that could result in fraud or material misstatement of the financial statements, and then implement internal controls to mitigate those identified risks. That's an item that we have not implemented yet, but it's an item that staff maybe will work with council to develop an appropriate risk assessment process so that we can respond to that audit finding. And also accounting procedures. Karen and her staff, they have a lot of good accounting procedures. We're kind of interesting because a lot of our accounting is with the County of Sacramento, so we have to follow County of Sacramento policies for accounting issues. And then also we have some internal processes that are documented, but not necessarily in any manual. And Karen and her staff are going to try to respond to this finding to implement such a manual. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, Karen,
yes,
on that one?
the goal.
What?
Yes, that is our goal.
Okay. And with that, those are the findings from the audit. Like I said, I think it's a relatively clean audit, and I recommend that the board receives and files the audited financial statements and other reports for the fiscal years ending June 30th of 14 and June 30th of 15.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any questions for Bob? Seeing none, this is receive and file only, so we'll move on to the next item.
Item number 5 is the County of Sacramento's calendar year 2017 investment policy for the pool investment fund.
And because our money is with the County of Sacramento, it's required that we adopt this policy every year. So I recommend that you receive and file the investment policy from the county's pool investment fund.
Okay, any questions, Bob, on this? Seeing none, we'll receive and file and go to the next item.
Next item is the review of franchise and PEG fees paid by AT&T for calendar years 2014 and 2015.
Okay, as you know, we audit all the local state franchises. We usually do a 2-year audit. This is the audit of AT&T for the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2015. And with this audit, there were several findings that our auditor, OSPA and Skolco, found. Those findings are attached in the attached report. It's a lot of different findings, but it had to deal with equipment charges, late fees, convenience fees, early termination fees, credit adjustments, advertising revenues. There's quite a bit. After our auditor produced the report, they and we worked with AT&T. AT&T did not object to the findings. So with that, they've actually already paid these amounts, and that's what I covered in the budget presentation when I said that there was the extra revenue. So with this audit, for those 2 years audited, we found that AT&T owed us $164,911 in franchise fees and $34,856 in PEG fees, and at this point, they've already paid that to the commission. So with that, I recommend that you receive and file the audit.
Okay, any other questions for Bob? Nothing else? Let's receive and file as well. We'll go to the next item.
Item number 7 is a general administration report by our executive director.
Okay. So we have 3 items that we wanted to cover. The first is the remaining calendar year 2017 meetings, and I think we just discussed that, but there will be one on the first Thursday in September and on the first Thursday in December. And we've already discussed some items that might be on those, as well as the final budget will be on the September meeting. Second item I want to talk about is, I mentioned it earlier in the budget presentation, that we have hired CPS HR Consulting to do a classification and compensation study for the positions at the Cable Commission. Like I said earlier, this was discussed several years ago. We made an attempt to do that study. For various reasons, that attempt got aborted, but we have since retained this firm. So far, they seem to be a very good firm, and they're hard at work working on this study. One of the goals is to right now, we have a lot of unique positions that we're a cable commission. You know, a lot of what we deal with is in the cable related. We have a lot of production, a lot of technical positions, and right now they're tied to county administrative service officer positions. So that tie has been there for probably since early on in the days of the Cable Commission. You know, I couldn't tell you when it was first implemented, but you know, it's been there since 2006, since I've been around. So we think it's time to look at the positions, to see how they're compensated, to do this classification and compensation study. So that is being worked on. We hope that that will be ready in September. I'm not guaranteeing it will be ready in September, but it's likely to be an item on the September or the December meeting agenda. Also, the next item is a telecom advocacy coalition lobbying efforts. We discussed with your board previously Harriet Steiner's firm has started up a lobbying coalition for issues related to items dealing with the rights of way of local agencies, including cable type issues. So with that, we funded, Karen, do you remember the amount of the contract? I think it was
$12,000.
$12,000. So we funded $12,000 to participate in this lobbying coalition. They look after certain bills coming forward. One bill coming forward that many of your agencies may have heard of is SB 649. It's the Wireless Telecommunications Facilities Bill. It's also been thrown out there as being the 5G initiative. Verizon has been pushing this forward. It's also been called the small cell legislation. Basically, this is legislation that is proposing to allow small cells to install facilities in local rights-of-way to deliver their small cell content. And rather, kind of similar to DIVCO, rather than wanting to negotiate with a lot of the local agencies, they're trying to get the state legislation approved that would eliminate discretionary review for small cell installed next to or in public rights of way. It could be on traffic signals and street lights and utility poles throughout the jurisdictions. Could require counties to lease street lights and stoplights to private companies at very low rates. Oh, and as far as the ability to charge a fee, this legislation seems to be proposing fees at very low rates. And precluding negotiations with the local agencies over the installation of these small cell devices. So this lobbying coalition, we have conference calls about every week. They're putting together some information. They actually proposed amendments to this bill. Those amendments, I don't believe, got the momentum yet. And right now, I think CSAC and the League of Cities are actually just opposing that this bill be opposed. The feeling is that some sort of version of this bill is going to pass, and also there's going to be a lot of effort to be put on a veto by the governor. So, and actually there is a cable relationship here too, because there could be the specter of small cell providing video content over these networks and without franchise fees. So that's an update. I just wanted to let you know that this coalition was going on. This is one of the bills that's actively being worked on, and we have forces out there that are lobbying for this based on the coalition.
Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
And that's the all I wanted to update you on.
Next item.
Item number 8 are reports from our channel licensees.
All right, so we have a couple speakers signed up here. Actually, a few. So I'll give some new folks an opportunity first. Let's go with Brian. Is it Wetzel? Sure.
So hi again, I'm Doug Niva, Director of Production Services for SCCC. So one of the things that I help manage for SCCC is the SIVA Grant Lab program. And with the generous help of the Cable Commission, we'll be able to assist 31 school programs so far. And one of those programs is at Del Campo High School, which Bob had referenced earlier, which received a grant this past school year. So I'd like to introduce Brian Weitzel. He's the media teacher at Del Campo to tell you more about his program.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Weitzel. I'm a video production and broadcasting teacher at Del Campo High School. And through the generous support of the Cable Commission, SCCC was generous enough to give us a $15,000 studio lab grant last year to get our program going. That was combined with $85,000 from our school district to get our program going at our school. for a total of $100,000. And in the first year, we were able to put together a TV studio out of an old photography darkroom and start broadcasting live daily to 1,800 students and staff. We do a live daily news broadcast that's completely student-driven, student-produced, and student-delivered. And so I want to thank the Cable Commission for their continued support because that enabled us to be able to buy equipment that we couldn't buy. A lot of our money went to small purchases of equipment, and in a school district, anything over $5,000 becomes a little bit of a procedure to get it done. And so SIVA Labs was able to come in and provide a big chunk for our TriCaster equipment, which enables our broadcast to go forward. We have a little video. It's SIVA Studio Lab video to show you.
I believe the folks in the back.
So that was a little look at our studio. The video is mainly our intro that we run every day on our broadcast. That's kind of that's our signal to our teachers that our feed is coming online. So it's been great, and I really appreciate the support of the Cable Commission and SECC.
Brian, thank you for what you do personally to mentor these young men and women, because it's invaluable. It's impressive to see what you're doing there at the school. By any chance, did you do any of the SIVA awards, the videos?
Yeah, we do. Well, I had previous 12 years at Andrew Carnegie Middle School, where I had a program there, and so we've been involved with the SIVA Awards for over a decade. Transferred over to Del Campo this last year to take my talents to the high school level and open up a program, a career path program, really. And then we entered, I think, 6 films into the SIVAs this year, and we were walked away with an honorable mention in one category. So. Excellent. No, that's a great night. You know, it is. Supervisor Natoli and myself had a chance to be a couple of the commissioners. I think there may have been more than that even that were there to do some of the award presentations. And phenomenal to see not only the films but the excitement with the kids and the parents. And I mean, I'm guessing there's probably almost close to 1,000 people at that event. It's a pretty big event. So thank you very much for what you do. Thank you. So, Doug, I'm assuming that covered what you wanted?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Here, Steve, I want to jump in real quick on that. As a Del Campo alumni 15 years ago, I was actually the in charge of the morning announcements before, and we had enough technology to do it over the intercom in the morning. So very excited to see the new technology, and proud to see your work over there.
Thanks,
Can I jump in?
Sure.
I was an alumni also, but longer than that, and we had nothing like that when I was there, so great job, and I'm glad you're doing it because I have a lot of friends with kids who are now going there, so thank you.
They're making me feel bad. We had to pull the string tighter. So, David, come on down.
little networking, we're going to do a tour for the students at KVIE. I'm David Lowe, the president of KVIE, and want to thank the staff for their help preparing our budget request, and then also to the commissioners for approving it. We have 2 short videos. One is to showcase some of the equipment that you've approved in the past and showing it in use. And then the last time I was here, I talked about Ken Burns' The Vietnam War. It's an 18-hour film that's coming in September. I promised I'd bring a little bit of video for that. So that's here. But along with that, we've also cultivated 16 interviews of people who live in our region sharing their Vietnam story, whether they're refugees or Vietnam veterans. There's actually a woman who, from Roseville High School, put together a memory of the people that they lost in their class. And so those will also be shared at the time that we air the Ken Burns Vietnam War in September, and also online. So please enjoy the short video, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
I think the Vietnam War drove a stake right into the heart of America. Unfortunately, we've never moved really far away from that, and we never recovered.
There was no way we could avoid telling this story. Wars are so extraordinarily revealing, obviously, of the worst of humanity, but as it turns out, also the best of humanity.
There's been a lot done about this subject. Books, documentaries, feature films, novels. I mean, it's not like no one's ever tried. But it remains this kind of unfinished business in American history.
So it's time now. The decades have passed, and it's important now to go back and try to understand it.
The real heroes are the men that died. To see these kids who had the least to gain, and yet their loyalty to each other, their courage under fire, was just phenomenal. And you would ask yourself, how does America produce young men like this?
We wanted to get to know the people, we wanted to get to know the place, we wanted to spend time there. Trying to figure out how to do what we do in Vietnam was really a challenge.
There's no one American side. And then within Vietnam, there's the winning side, there's the losing side. They were our enemy and our ally. There's just so many different perspectives. We tried to bring them all together.
This is without a doubt the most ambitious project that we have ever undertaken. PBS is the only place it could have been done.
I think the country's ready to have the conversation we've never had about the war, which we really need to have.
This film is not an answer, but a set of questions about what happened.
Thank you, David. That's pretty powerful.
Just ask a question.
Susan, yes.
Yeah, I just wondered when the Vietnam show is going to start.
It's going to premiere on September 17th, and then it's going to air over 10 days, 18 hours. It'll also be available online, and then we're also going to make our local films available as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
David, could you do me a favor and if you have a flyer or something about this, send it to Karen and have Karen disseminate it out to us so we can promote it?
Oh, absolutely. We have a lot of e-materials, and we can get that to staff.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that a different topic each episode, or is that episodic?
It's, well, if you've ever seen a Ken Burns film, you know it's going to be extremely well done and detailed. Matter of fact, the very first episode is going to be all about Vietnam and how it came to be in the 1600s, and it's not even going to touch on the actual war until we start to get to the second episode. Excellent. But you'll see it kind of go through, I think, the timeline.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for that item. Can we have the next item, Karen?
I'm sorry. Item number 9 is reports from state franchisees.
Oh, you know what? I think I skipped over Gary. I'm sorry, Gary, I skipped over you. Still item 8. I apologize.
We don't have a Ken Burns video to show today. Our budget's a little smaller. Little joke. Okay. So a couple of just general comments. Our board has been restructuring itself, and we have a new board chair. And unfortunately, Don Hinkle works at this hour and was unable to be here. But Don is the manager at West Marine, and we're delighted to have him as the new board chair. So that's great. A general announcement for this coming March. The Alliance for Community Media has Western States region, one of the 6 regions of the Alliance for Community Media, which represents PEG in Washington. And so the ACM Western Region Conference we will host here in Sacramento at the Embassy Suites on March 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we'll be doing a variety of trainings and a trade show at the Embassy Suites, and hopefully many on the staff here or of the board would be able to attend. But an ACM West Region Conference is very similar to the national conference, so great content for PEG representatives, both from the production side to the administrative side, March 15th, 16th, and 17th. And then I would only invite you to come down to the Coloma Community Center, and we have lots of your equipment to see there. And if you haven't seen our facility, perhaps a tour is in order. It's really nice to see the new equipment in place. And so thank you again for your support always.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, item number 9 are reports from state franchisees.
Okay, so I don't have any speakers signed up.
So the next
I don't see
item and our
anybody
last
running
item.
down. We can go to the
Last item is then receive comments from the public, if any.
and I have no speaker slips from the public unless somebody wants to run down here and speak. I think we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.